Okay, so we're ready to move on in the instructions, and we're actually going to go to P. So we finished all this. There are a couple of things before we move on I want to show you that I did since the last video. I had glanced over this molding. There was another molding closer below where the cannons are, where the water releases are, and then finally in the center of the ship on the sides that I didn't see that, so I didn't do that. Also, I had to close in the area on the starboard side, so let me show you. So I had to put the moldings on. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on video, but we had the molding on top. We had the molding between the cannon openings, and then we had the molding on the bottom, like halfway, just above the water line. And what we had to do is we actually had to bring the pieces and wrap them around the bow section. So I did the same thing on the starboard side, the open side. We have the 3 moldings, and I had to close in that area. So now, with all that said, let me put her aside, and we're going to take a look at section P of the instruction sheet. Looks like we're going to start to have some fun now. Check it out. We're going to put the ladders on the sides. We're also going to put the cannon openings. That's always going to be fun. On the back of the ship, same thing. We're going to put the faces around the openings, and we're going to paint the front where the bow section is, and we got to put the doors on, kind of like what we did for the bulkheads on the deck. And then we have to glue on this section on the front. We'll be building off that, and then we have to frame in all of the handrails. Well, not quite handrails, but where the handrails where I perceive to be. So there's a lot in this section. So let me show you guys what I've been doing with my notes. So this is 15, 16, so this is step 17 already. So for the top row of the cannon ports, we're going to put the ones that are shaped like this. And for the ones on the bottom, they have a different shape. Then we got to do the ladders. We have to glue to the sides of the ship. Now we got to do that on both sides. Add pieces to port and starboard for the moldings. We need to add pieces to form the ladder. Part 4 is cut the molding to fit the sides of the ship. So when we cut the pieces that are going to go on the sides, there's 1 in the front and there's 2 in the back. So what we got to do is we got to take a piece and I got to notch it out. Once it fits in place, then we have to sand it to make like a curvature on the ship. What they want us to do is putty again the forecastle section on the side, and they want us to actually putty the bow and then just sand it. I don't like the putty on this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually plank this section. I think it'll look better, as well as this section. Instead of puttying it, I'm going to put a thicker piece to join the 2 together, sand it down, and put the thin planks all the way up, because I think that the planks look good on the ship. That's just my opinion. If you're making yours, you can follow the instructions. They just have you putty it all and sand it smooth, but I'm going to plank mine. So we add the molding to the front section of the ship, and because we're going to put the section that comes off the bow, and then we have a bunch of the little pieces that are going to put on as an extension and kind of support. And then we're going to notch out the piece that's going to go in the front. We got to add molding to the hand railing areas. We're going to cut a few pieces to go up and form the curvature, And the way this is coming down, we put an extra piece on almost to look like a scroll. We bring all the way down to the, we're going to put these on, and what these are going to do is these are going to come off over here in these specific sections where the masts are going to be, because this is for the, actually for the rigging. I don't know if you can see where the rigging is going to be anchored to the sides of the ship. What I forgot to put on this was the part where we have to paint black the front where the bow is with those 2 doors. And we have to do those 2 doors as well. So there's a lot to this section. Section P. So we should just get right to it. I'm thinking maybe we can do the ladder sections. That might be, or actually maybe we should just do the faces for the cannons first. All right, let's do that. But this is what I was telling you. They want us to just putty it in and then sand it. But what I'm going to do is we're going to plank it, and then we'll sand to kind of blend it in. And the same thing on the front. Actually, I prepared a piece for you guys. I want to show you. So eventually it's going to be planked. I think it's going to look more like a boat, especially the Dutchman. Now, if this was a battleship, I wouldn't have a problem doing that because the battleships are nice and smooth, but this is actually a wooden ship, so everything would be planked. All right, so let's start now. We're gonna start, we'll do what the instructions do, and we'll do the port side first. And let's see. All right, so the ones with the, it looks like the bottom is kind of open. I'm going to go on the top. And it looks like these. So I'm going to put the glue. That. All right, let's put this. that looks pretty wild. All right, so now we'll go down the line to do them all. Wow, look at that. That's pretty cool. Okay, now we're going to put the other ones. They're going to go in on top. Okay, so we got the openings. So it's looking like we got to do the ladders. So it looks like they're going to go up from this section and then over the spout or the drain. All right, so we're going to need 12 pieces. So this will be really quick. All right, so let me rattle them off. go right up against the tape. There. I love this thing. Okay, so we can start gluing them on now. It looks like on the bottom section there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're gonna go between the second and third one. So they're gonna start right here. Actually, I'm going to use the tweezers on this. A little bit of glue. I'm not going to put one here because we got to put the hand railing on, but check that out. All right, so that looks good. Now we're going to put those pieces, P4, P5, and in the front, P2. And what we got to do is we got to notch them. So we'll notch them out in the back because they're going to have to go from the top. And I'm going to have to mark off. Let's do that right now. We're going to mark off where the captain's quarters are. That way there we make sure where we're not going to interfere with that. So I'm going to mark the end. Where this is going to be, it'll be right here. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. Right here. Right there. The reason I'm doing that is because we gotta put the these side pieces going down, and I don't want to have to cut them to interfere with the captain's quarters that'll be on. We got to cut. We're going to notch it right. We're going to do it right here. Where's my pencil? So we got to notch it there and here. So I'm going to push down on the edges, and then we're going to notch it out that way. That looks pretty good. And now we need to start notching the bottom piece. That actually looks pretty good. We kind of straighten it up a little bit. me try to... I'm going to shape it now. That's looking pretty good right about there. Maybe just a wee bit more on the bottom. See how we need to curve it? We need to curve it into the shape of the side of the ship. So that's looking pretty good right about there. So we need to trim this section off right there, and then we're going to bring it down. I'm actually going to sand it into a curve shape. See? There. That looks pretty good. So that's going to go like that. And I think I need to trim just a little bit more off on the bottom. Again, I'm going to curve it because I don't want it overhanging. So put it right here. That looks good, just like that. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a glue, and this section will be in place. Make sure this is absolutely straight before the glue sets. I'm wondering if we should put a clamp on. And after that's dry, we'll cut that because we're going to put the railing on later. So, okay, so now we're going to do the next one. And that one will go right about, let's see, yeah, just before the curve. So we're going to put it right here. So let's do the notch just about here. And we'll do the other notches just about here. Do the same thing now. Yeah, I like the way that looks. So that looks good. So that's where it's going to go. So now let's put a little bit of glue on this section. Make sure to line it up. Make sure it's even, just like that. There. Nice. Check that out. And again, when it's dry, we'll cut the tops. Okay, so we got the openings to the cannons. We've got the ladders. We've got the I'm not quite sure what these are called in the back, but it looks like we've got to do them for the front as well. How many do we have to do for the front? Looks like we just have to do one. And it looks like that's going to go right here. I want to address this right now because what they want us to do is put putty over here. But I think what I want to do is I want to sand it down a bit. Yeah, that's good. And then what we can do is we can trim that off. So let me go ahead. We're going to put a little bit of glue all the way down to the end pieces. And when it's all dry, I'm going to sand it down a little bit. And what that's going to do is that's going to bring it right down and make it smooth. See, that looks... That's going to look better, I think, than... I think it's going to look better than doing the putty. I just don't care for the putty. Oh, and it's still too low for me to clamp. There. I think that's going to look better. And when it's all dry, we'll trim it off and then I'll sand it smooth. I think that'll look better than doing the putty because I like seeing the planks. Alright, so they don't have the ladder going on this side at all. Okay, so I think what I want to do now is I want to do the same thing on this side. What I'm going to do is instead of putting the putty, I'm going to plank it and then I'm going to sand it smooth. We use the thin plank. So and just cut the piece approximately that I want, just so it's easier to handle. So I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to go this way. I want to push it down so that it's making contact with the bottom, so there's no gaps. Just like that. Yeah, that looks good. I don't think I need to clamp this. Yeah. When it's dry, we'll trim it down, we'll sand it down, and we'll blend it all in. That way there we don't have to put the putty. Okay, so that's all set. So I think what we can do now is, because we have the openings for the cannons, and we did the same thing for the stern, so we got them on the stern. So I think what we can do is we can think about putting those structures on the back. Again, we got to make sure it's lined up and straight with the other side. Yeah, that looks pretty good. There. Hopefully you guys can see that. And don't worry about the extra, because we have to put the railings on, so we'll trim that down. I'd rather make them too long than too short. So we got the molding on. We have the ladder on both sides. We've got the openings for the cannons. It's looking pretty cool. So we put the cannon openings on the stern. And on the port side, you can see we did the same thing with the molding. And we put the cannon openings around. And I trimmed this down a little bit. And we'll give it a good sand. And it'll make it nice and smooth, because I think that looks better than the putty. It looks more like wood. You can tell that it's planking. So I think this is going to be part A of section P of the instructions, because there's a lot in this section. She's starting to get detailed. So we're going into the fun parts now of doing the build. So my friends, I appreciate all the kind words, and until my next video, I'll talk to you soon.